So if we were going to look at hydration, since hydration is for all doshas, everybody needs hydration for different reasons. But there are some primary concepts around hydration that I think are great to bring in, and I would love to really take a moment to educate, because one of them is about assimilating, and one of the remedies is about absorbing. So you have to be able to assimilate and absorb water. You don't want to just drink water and then you just keep peeing it out. That's showing you're not absorbing it, you're not assimilating it. So the moment you drink water and you just are urinating it out, you know that you're probably sitting with dry cell bed, which is like the beginning of dehydration. Okay, so how do we assimilate? Salt. Okay, so electrolytes. Salt happens to be the electrolyte that is made by our earth, so it's the simplest electrolyte we have. It's also considered salt, is the only edible crystal in the world. So it's pretty precious. I don't know if you know the history of salt, which is a book, but it's also a deep, deep history. But that book is brilliant if you're a historian. But it's the history of salt, and it goes through and explains that almost every war in time has been started by who had the most expensive salt mines, like who created the salt. So primary, oh my gosh. I need some salt, let me show you. So when we look at this can be a scary conversation. If you think of salt as how we avoid table salt, the idea that I'm bringing forward that salt is a primary remedy can sound really odd, because table salt is actually where you took that precious mound, that edible crystal, and you rinsed it and bleached it and re-iodized it. So processed. So don't we know processed food doesn't work, so table salt doesn't work either. Just like pasteurized dairy is processed dairy when it was like perfect and pristine and nourishing, and enzymatic when it's raw. So the idea of salt here is, table salt, I am never going to tell you to take that. It is really irritating, causes inflammation, causes a lot of skin rashes, a lot of bleeding disorders, and it is dehydrating in its own right, which is so sad because it was just this perfect. So what is salt? This crystal, right? I'm going to use the ocean and land as a concept. So you have four main electrolytes that your kidneys need, and 2 are positive and 2 are negative electrolytes. That's why you have 2 kidneys. You actually need that colliding of positive and negative to help you assimilate and uptake salt in your bloodstream. Okay? The 2 of those electrolytes are in the water, in the ocean, chloride and sodium. Okay? Then you have the land, and the land has 2 primary minerals that are electrolytes, which is magnesium and potassium. When that chloride and sodium collides with the magnesium and potassium, it makes electromagnetic surge that starts making the liquid water and the compounds and minerals in the rock or sand, when they collide, they actually create crystal mounds. So salt is formed through an electromagnetic colliding of water and earth.
Cool.
So a running river makes it all day long. The ocean makes it all day long. So you want to do tons of ocean salts, river salts. But I no longer, I think we're in our last little bit, but I'm not selling Himalayan salt anymore because it's gone in China, it's gone in Tibet, it's gone in India, now they're mining Pakistan. And it's millions of year old mountain salts, which was made by 1 drop of water or 1 little stream in the mountain colliding with the cave. You know what I mean? It's cave salt. So once it's mined, it'll take another couple million years to make that salt again. Like they don't even have a salt. All the mines that they took the salt out of, which started in India about 25 years ago, they haven't even formed salt yet again. 25 years later.
Wow.
So we really are completely wiping out our Himalayan salt resource. Plus pink salt, pink shows you how much chloride is in it. Chloride is cleansing. It's not a daily salt. You want to cleanse, then pink salt is awesome. And Murray River in Australia makes tons of pink salt too, so you don't have to use Himalayan. We have other pink salts you can think about that have that cleansing. Gray salt is magnesium. So gray shows you the amount of magnesium, and usually that's where it was colliding with a rock, you know, big rocks. Sometimes salts are pure white and it's hard to know if they were rinsed or bleached. You know, Mediterranean salt or Sonoma Solar, our local Sonoma salt, is white. Those are eating salts on food. They have to be liquefied and broken down to be digested by our kidneys because they're so potassium rich. The white shows you the potassium. So magnesium is daily salt for just getting your kidneys to assimilate water. But as long as it's not rinsed and it's not processed, salt is the best electrolyte we have. And give it a chance. Do a half a teaspoon every morning in water. When you put your salt in water, it goes straight to kidney and heart health, which is called regulating your blood pressure. The amount of water volume we have from kidney to heart is our blood pressure. So you're not going to get high blood pressure from good salt. You're going to get high blood pressure from an irritating salt. So some, you know, we get a lot of people off their high blood pressure meds by getting them into good salts. I don't have anyone yet of all my years in research who has had high blood pressure. I mean, it's like, to me, it's unheard of because it just doesn't happen. But it's the worry because that fear has been put in us that salt makes high blood pressure. But that's bad salt. So, you had a question first?
You should use like gray salt?
Gray salt is your daily salt. Atlantic gray, Celtic gray. But if it looks wet and gray in the bottle, that's the stuff you're looking for.
For your water.
Yeah, half a teaspoon. And you want to make sure it's dissolved.
So if you cook with gray salt, does that wind up destroying its goodness for you?
No. You can cook salt all you want and it just will stay in its electrolyte form, you know? There is one complication that you bring to mind that when I'm really going into this topic and teach it in my other course, I make mention, so I will. Salt reacts, depolarizes. Electrolytes depolarize on contact with metal. So we should not be cooking our salt in metal or steel. It should be in glass or enamel. That's the unfortunate, or clay.
What about ceramic?
Ceramic, yep. But as soon as you got stainless steel or cast iron, unfortunately, when you cook salt in there, it depolarizes it and you made table salt.
Just put it on there. Yeah.
So I don't want to say, yeah, cook it, no problem. Like there is a specific detail there. And we know that because when we put a metal spoon in salt and leave it there, it corrodes.
Mm.
So, you know, you can pretty much see the process happening over time anyway. If you stir some salt with a stainless steel spoon, you don't have to be all, oh my God. You know, it has to sit in there for like 10 minutes and go through a whole process. So you don't need to be like ultra sensitive, but literal cooking pan, that would shift things in probably 5 minutes with heat. Yeah, so salt after, or think about your cooking pans. Yeah. Okay, so if you put it straight in water, first thing in the morning, you're just sending electrolyte assimilation of water to the kidneys. If you salt your food, you're sending electrolytes to your pancreas, which is your electrolyte base for the gut, and you're helping the liquefaction of your digestion. Salt is always to taste. You will never eat too many electrolytes. When you are craving salt, you will find it no matter what anyway, and then it's the bad stuff. Who goes for olives? Who goes for cheese? Who goes for crackers? Who goes for chips? Who goes for eating out?
Yeah.
Who goes for carbonation? Those are all table salt sodiums. Actually, in Ayurveda, the word salt means lavana, which means greed. You know, I always think of that as like, yeah, you can't really eat one chip, can you? It just doesn't work that way. So, you know, and the word sea salt is not bleached or re-iodized, but it's rinsed of its electrolytes. So it can't be sea salt. You can scrub with sea salt, you know, 80 cents a pound, go for it. It's not gonna hurt you, it's good stuff, it's cheap. But you don't wanna eat it, I don't think of it as edible. So that word isn't good enough. I need Celtic or Atlantic or, you know, make things with my own salts. So you want it on food to taste and trust your taste buds. You also want to put it in your water the same way. If that half a teaspoon is like crazy salty, dilute it. If you cannot even taste that salt, add more. So you get just to that right saline that your taste buds will tell you. Okay. Assimilation and healthy blood pressure, pumping kidney energy to the heart.
Maybe this is a question that I've had before. There are times when I put gray salt in my water and I'm like, tons of it, and that's really satisfying, and I don't like salt. And there are times where I put just a smidge and I'm like, too much.
Yeah, you want to go with the flow.
What does that mean?
Well, it means you have enough electrolytes and your body doesn't want more salt. It doesn't need more electrolytes. Your kidneys are doing their job just fine. They don't need more electromagnetic current. You know, maybe your blood pressure is super spot on, so there is no need.
Okay, that's what I figured.
But usually if you're low blood pressure or really depleted or been working a lot, you know, then you're gonna notice like, whoa, my body wants way more salt. Yep. Yeah. The other one is absorption. Absorption of. So your cells have to be able to absorb water. If your cells were absorbing water when it went by, you would never be frequently urinating all your water out. So some of it needs to be pumping to the heart, and some of it needs to be held for energy for later. We store water energy, but not if you pee it out. We're not storing much, you know? So how do we absorb? We have to make that cell bed really plumpy. Plus you want the cells plump because cells mimic each other. If you get a bunch of flat, dehydrated cells, if that becomes the majority, then your body, it's the concept of free radicals, then your body actually starts mimicking those flat cells and you don't make plump cells anymore. So you want them nice and juicy and plump, and then the cell's like, you're plump, I'm plump, you're plump, I'm plump. And that's how we stay really like, you know, lustrous. And honestly, I'll give you the best reason to take in omega oils ever, which is less wrinkles. That seems to be the, you know, okay, I'm in. Like lustrous hair, good skin, good nails, feeling like, you know, you've got some good pliability and tonification. That's all plump cells. So these are absorbing, and they're called EFAs, essential fatty acids.